Dr. Omalu, you began this journey 15 years ago now, but it was only last year that the NFL finally admitted there was a link. Are contact sports finally getting a grip on the dangers of concussion and brain damage?
Well, thank you so much for having me. That was why I wrote my book, Truth Doesn't Have a Side. I have never believed the sports industry would do so much about brain damage in sports, because the NFL is not in business to provide health care or public health education. They're in business to provide a product, football, or entertainment. They're in business to make money. So I believe the decision on whether to play or not to play would rest upon each and every individual, each and every parent. And knowing what we know today, there is no justifiable reason whatsoever that a child under the age of 18 should play any of the high-impact, high-contact sports. The big six are football, rugby, ice hockey, mixed martial arts, boxing, and wrestling. When you play these games, there's no question about it. There is a 100% risk exposure to brain damage.
It's quite frightening, actually, because there's so many of those sports that children do participate in around the world. What does long-term impacts like that do to children's brains?
Well, what we are realizing now is if a child plays these high-impact, high-contact sports and suffer repeated blows to the head, they suffer brain damage, which sometimes could manifest 20, 30, 40 years later. They manifest with symptoms like diminishing intelligence, suicide attempts, psychiatric disorders, criminal behavior, violent tendencies, and inability to attain high levels of education, a greater risk to drop out of high school, greater risk to drop out of college, greater risk to engage in addictive behavior, drug abuse, alcoholism. Children should play the non-contact sports. There are so many of them. If you visit the website of the International Olympics Committee, non-contact sports like swimming, track and field, volleyball, baseball, basketball, table tennis, lawn tennis. These are the healthy types of sports.
But it's not
that would give your child whatever rugby would give your child, but would preserve your child's intelligence.
But it's not just about concussion, is it, really, Dr. Omalu?
Types of sports.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Omalu. It's not just about concussion, though, is it? Because we're also talking about things like headers in soccer. Tell me what your research tells you about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's not about concussions. It's about repeated blows to the head with or without concussions, or with or without a helmet. In soccer, if you notice, many times when two children go for the ball, they hit their heads. So there should not be any heading in soccer below the age of 18. And even if you watch soccer, soccer is a high dexterity sport that requires high levels of visual spatial coordination. Children don't have such capacities. So soccer, as we play it today, no heading before the age of 18, and any child under the age of 12 should not play soccer as we play it today. They should play less dribble soccer and less contact soccer until their brains become sufficiently developed to play soccer.
And I just want to go back to the professional side of sports, because that's where your research really began. The Canadian Football League, you know, they announced on Wednesday that it's eliminating full contact padded training sessions. The NFL may be also bringing in some new type of helmets. Are these leagues really doing enough at the moment to tackle the issue of brain damage, long-term brain damage in professional players?
We can never do enough because these games are inherently dangerous. In every play of football, there are blows to the head, and that is why I have said adults can play these games when they've reached the age of consent. So when you play, you know the inherent risk, but not children. Football can never be made safe. Boxing can never be made safe. Rugby can never be made safe. And I'm yet to examine the brain of a retired football player who does not have CTE or other types of brain damage. I believe, based on the science, that if you play these games up to the professional level, that there was almost a 100% chance you will suffer some type of brain damage, one form or the other, to some certain degree. But these are for adults. Adults are free to do whatever they want to do as long as they have informed consent. I would defend the right, liberty and freedom of an
Dr.
adult
Omalu,
to play these types of dangerous games.
Dr. Omalu,
but
I'm
not
sorry
children.
to interrupt. We've run out of time. We could go on, but you've made your message very clear. Thank you very much for speaking to us.